Hi, I'm Chef Scott from Canyon Ranch. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to make one of the easiest desserts you can imagine, a cookie, a coconut macaroon, kind of a light, airy, dreamy kind of dessert that's much lower in fat, lower in calories than you would normally find out there. And it really is super easy. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees, which is where I'm going to bake these things at. And I'm actually going to start with making just a simple syrup, a very basic simple syrup, which we make with evaporated cane sugar, which is also known as organic sugar, and it's just a little bit more natural form of regular refined sugar, about a cup of that, and then a third of a cup or so of water. I'm going to turn up the heat here just a little bit. A little bit less than a teaspoon or so of vanilla extract, and then finally a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. And the last thing I'm going to add as a technical thing is a couple of tablespoons of honey. And the reason I'm going to add this is because a simple syrup, if you make it without honey, or in some cases they use corn syrup, which we don't use, you run the risk of having the sugar crystallize when you actually cook it and bring it to a boil. So I'm going to turn that up even a little bit more. I'm going to allow that to come to a boil, which is going to take a few minutes. I'm going to cook it 30 seconds or so, maybe a little bit longer, just until the sugar is completely evaporated or is completely absorbed. I don't want to evaporate the water too much, but all I want to do is to make sure that that's completely, there's no crystals at all in there, and completely smooth. So we're actually through 5 of the 7 ingredients in this super simple cookie. The last 2 are the coconut and the egg white. So I'm just going to separate this egg here and get the white. Best way to do it is kind of from shell to shell there. Alright, you can either save that or you can get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of break up this white a little bit. I don't want to froth it. I don't want to turn it into a meringue. But I kind of want to just break up the proteins in that egg white. That's ready to go. Now over here you can see my simple syrup has come to a boil. And it is also ready. And at this point I am going to pull that off and allow it to cool slightly, just because it's pretty darn hot. So we're going to let that sit there. We've got our egg white here and our coconut, and I'm just going to go ahead and add my coconut into my egg white, and I'm going to stir that around just for a second and kind of absorb up that egg white. And I'll tell you, it really absorbs pretty quickly. Really where you get most of your moisture from is when we add the simple syrup to that. So let's just make sure that that's really well distributed. You can also do this, if you'd like, as a tip, on a stand mixer. It'll work absolutely fine that way. So my syrup is cooled slightly, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of slowly add this in just to evenly distribute it throughout all of the coconut and egg mixture. Now you can, if you've allowed it to cool enough, you could use your hand as well, but be very careful because that syrup is hot unless you've cooled it completely and properly. So, it's a heavy cookie dough, and again, I just want to make sure that everything is completely absorbed, that the coconut is moist, and I don't have any dry spots. Now, I'm ready to go ahead and begin to bake these. You can do it a couple of different ways. You can either go directly onto a cookie sheet or a sheet tray, as long as you've sprayed it with a little bit of oil, or I like the idea of less mess, so I'm going to use a piece of parchment paper, or if you have a Silpat or anything like that, that'll also work fine. I'm going to give it a light spray, and then begin to drop by tablespoonfuls my cookie dough, my macaroon dough, onto the parchment. And if you want, you can even kind of form it a little bit, or you do free form. It's kind of up to you. But about a tablespoon is what you want to do. And you can see it holds together pretty well because it is nice and moist and everything is evenly distributed. Okay, now into your preheated 350 degree oven. About 8 minutes. Turn, and another 4 to 5 minutes for a total cooking time or baking time of about 12 to 13 minutes. Yeah, I know they're ready when they begin to get nice and golden brown on the top, and the bottom is as well. You're going to have to allow them to cool just a couple of minutes before you can actually handle them, just so they can firm up and set up as well. So, now that they're firmed up, it's the moment of truth. And you know they're perfect when they're nice and crispy on the outside and cloud-like in the middle. Dreamy.